She's sweet, she's salty, she's smart and craves chocolate every day. Here is your host, the Greek goddess of comedy, Ellen Karis.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sweet and Salty with Ellen Karis. I am your host, Ellen Karis, and I'm very excited today because, yes, I've been promising you, we have a guest. We don't have a guest, we have two guests. I've accrued my guests to give you a special guest episode. And I'm really excited because one is a personal friend of mine who at this point, I think we're like family because we've done so many things together. And the other one is a very interesting gentleman that I'm about to get to know. So let me get right to it. I'm excited because the Greeks are coming with film. And there's a lot of film festivals around. And I feel like us Greeks don't get the same hoopla as some of the other festivals. But this festival, the Hellenic Film Society Festival, has been going on, I just found out, for about 16 years. And I did go to one of their films where one of our guests was involved and I'm going to talk about that for a little bit as well. But I think it's very exciting. This year they've expanded. They are not only showing films at the Museum of Moving Images in Astoria, they're going to be in Fort Lee, New Jersey, where Mayaya lives. So, and also downtown in the East Village. So let me just read the press release because I don't want to miss anything, because there's also a special retrospective. So they're presenting it's the New York Greek Film Expo. It's a Greek film festival for all New Yorkers. By the way, you don't have to be Greek. Let me continue to emphasize that. This is happening from October 5th to October 15th. Screenings of the latest Greek films will be presented at the Village East in Manhattan, at the Barrymore Film Center in Fort Lee, and a special retrospective of the films from the acclaimed director, screenwriter, and actor Renos Haralambidis. I know I should have practiced that, and I know that I shouldn't even be mispronouncing it, but anyway, just give me a couple of more tries. It'll be shown at the prestigious Museum of Moving Images, which is in Astoria, which is, if you haven't gone, you have to go there, and that's going to be from October 13th to the 15th. In attendance will be the director, Haralambidis, and many of the filmmakers whose films are being presented, and they will participate in a Q&A sessions with the audience following the screenings. The Society will present 15 screenings, 13 films, including a documentary and an animated feature, as well as some shorts. The films are in Greek, but they have English subtitles. Additional programming will be a master class with Haralambidis. So for all those that are interested, or I know we have a lot of young filmmakers out there, I highly encourage you. A panel discussion on the state of Greek cinema, moderated by Nicholas Alexiou, and interviews with Haralambidis following each of his screenings. And there's going to be a film historian, Andrew Horton, who I feel like I did a radio show with him at some point. But Haralambidis, his films they're going to showcase is Four Black Suits, No Budget Story, The Heart of the Beast, and that's going to be on Saturday, the 14th. And then on the 15th, Cheap Smokes. Now, I encourage everybody to go to the Hellenic Film Society website and check out the trailers. I just love the imagery. Just in the trailers alone, I was so engaged. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let my guests on so they can tell us what this is all about. Our first guest is Jimmy Dimetro, which, Jimmy, we have to find out what your real Greek name is. But he is the president of the Hellenic Film Society and the festival director. So welcome, Jimmy. And
Thank
also,
you.
My friend, I'm friends with his wife. We've had his daughter on our podcast. He's an incredible man, lawyer, but has this whole film career as well. And I was blessed to be in one of his films, Swing Away. I helped out. We could talk about that for a second. But without further ado, George Stephanopoulos. So guys, welcome. Thank you.
Finally, you got me on the podcast.
I know. We were supposed to do this when your movie Swing Away came out, and I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened. I'm sure COVID had something to do with it. So well, let's just blame it on that. But thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Jimmy, it's really, really nice to meet you.
Very much. Yeah. By
I'm
the way, the Greek name is Takis Hadzidimitriou. My dad migrated when they were changing names at that age, that period of immigration when names were changed so that people could assimilate that much sooner in American society.
Wait, so they should have at the very least, put an S at the end. Do you know what I'm saying? Just to Demetros. That would have been, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
I wasn't born when it happened, Ellen. I wasn't born when it happened.
Okay, but nothing to do with it. All right.
There are very, very few things that predate me left. That's one.
I feel the same way. So tell us about the Film Society, how you got involved. I don't know if you're a filmmaker, are you an actor, director?
No, I'm not. I'm not a filmmaker. I was a professor of comparative literature and composition at City University of New York at Bronx Community College. Had a long career there, 39 years. When I retired, someone who knew my interest in Greek film asked me to start a Greek film festival in New York. And that was back in 2007. Many European countries had festivals at that time, and Greece did not. And we just thought that wasn't right. There are fine Greek films that should be shown to American audiences. And that was the idea, to start building an awareness of Greek cinema in the United States, specifically for us in New York. So we started that back in 2007. In 2018, we broke away and formed a nonprofit organization called the Hellenic Film Society USA. And we started with the New York Greek Film Expo. And this is actually our 6th year of operation. And we bring Greek films to New York, not only in the Expo, which is once a year, but we do monthly screenings at the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria. We also help organizations across the country. People contact us, they want to show a film or they want to start a festival, and we try to provide as much help as we can. We have sister festivals in Atlanta. We have a brand new festival, a sister festival in Fort Lauderdale. And there's also one in Stony Brook University that we help curate. And we're all volunteers. It's people committed to the mission of the society. We all love the movies. We all love Greece. We all share this need to give back to the community that has sustained us our entire lives. I head the organization, but it's never a one-person situation, as I'm sure you know. I have valued colleagues, George among them, who is also a very close friend. And I think we do a very good job. We try very, very much to keep this on a professional level. We go to the best venues. We're very careful in the films we select. And I guess the code is we want to respect our audience and we want to respect the filmmakers. And so that's a responsibility we have, and we try to live up to that as much as we can.
So are all of the people that are involved with the film, are they Greek? Are the writers Greek? The actors is all that you, in order to be part of
the films we show are basically, we give preference to films in the Greek language. However, from time to time, we also want to support Greek American filmmakers. There are quite a few who are trying to find their way in a very, very difficult field, as you undoubtedly know. So when we come across a project that we feel is worthwhile, we very, very happily include it in our selections, among our selections. And the film you mentioned earlier, which George was involved in, Swing Away, is a prime example of that. A film that's made basically by Greek Americans. This one happened to be made in Greece. And we were very, very happy to show it. It was a very successful film for us, a real audience pleaser, which is always wonderful to have in our screenings.
Well, since we mentioned Swing Away, I'm going to bring it up. And I brought it up on my podcast when I spoke with your daughter, Stella, your beautiful, talented daughter, Stella. Swing Away was a movie about a woman who was a Greek-American golfer, and she went to Greece, and there's this whole story that unfolds. And I was involved because George had asked me, the actress playing her was not Greek, and so he sort of asked me to educate her a little bit on what it's like to be a Greek American woman. And she had scenes where it involved the church. I brought it over to church. We spent 3 days together. It was one of the funnest things that I've ever done in my entire life. And George, I know, and I know from just watching you from the edge, I can't imagine what it was like to actually go through it, but it took you over 10 years to do it. And ultimately you went to Rhodes. So just tell us what that was like to have had, because you are also a filmmaker, you had this idea, and you had to go through the whole writing process, and then to finally get it and to film in Greece, which is, although we're Greek, but it still doesn't make it easy. So what was that like?
Right. Well, it's that's a whole other story. But what I can say is, it did take 10 years to make. I shot it in 2015, came out in 2017. It opened in theaters for a week at the same time. It was sort of what they call a day and date release. So it was in theaters and on demand at the same time. It went to Showtime. So it's had its run. It's still in distribution. So I'm very sort of happy with the finished film, and I'm glad that I have a finished film to show for my efforts, because as you noted, it took a lifetime, was a lot of sacrifice to do what I did. But what I can say is that movie brought me to the film festivals, really, and that was sort of how I educated myself. When I had the idea that I wanted to do a movie in Greece, I started attending the New York Greek Film Festival. I started going out to LA, to the LA Greek Film Festival. It's in fact where I met Renos Haralambidis, who's the subject of our retrospective. And I think it was 2006, 2007. He was there to show his film, The Heart of the Beast, which he made in 2005. So it was probably maybe 07. It seems like a lifetime ago, but they screened that movie on the Paramount lot at the Sherry Lansing Theater. And unlike trying to get to an American actor, let alone an A-lister, you got to go through all the gatekeepers.
Right.
In Greece, that doesn't exist. So it was very easy for me to walk up to him after the screening, to talk to him, to tell him I'm trying to make a movie in Greece, that I wanted him to read the script, if not be involved. And he just handed me his card, which said Renos Haralambidis, writer, director, actor, with his phone number. And we've stayed friends ever since. So if I hadn't gone to LA, I probably would have never met him. I think it was around that time, Jimmy, I think that I started volunteering at the New York Greek Film Festival, and that's where I met some other my Greek actors. Manos Gavras was in. He was in many different films, but the film that we showed at the time was my Little Greek Godfather. So that's how I started getting familiar with Greek movies, Greek actors, and then of course I was going back and forth to Greece and scouting locations, meeting with production companies, and just trying to connect the dots. So for me, Swing Away is what brought me to this point in my career, as far as my interest in Greek cinema, as far as my involvement with the film festival. But my day job is I'm a TV and film lawyer, so I'm in the business, and I've been in the business a long time now 30 years and counting. And so it's just a way for me to combine both my interests. I mean, I like being an entertainment attorney, but I also like producing, and I hope I get to keep doing that. And in addition to Swing Away, along the way, I produced several other films, including a documentary short. So it's kept things interesting.
I also encourage anybody that hasn't seen Swing Away. It is the perfect film to watch with your kids. It's inspirational. It's beautifully shot, and because there's a little girl aspect to it, and there's a character there, and it's great. It's a great family movie, and it's I find that's harder and harder to say these days, but yours definitely is.
Yeah, I tell people it's a 90-minute commercial for Greece, because it really, you do escape, to Greece when you watch this film. And not everyone's going to like the movie, but as Jimmy pointed out, it is an audience pleaser. Most people do like the film, partly because they just like that it's the story is interesting, I think, but it's just in terms of the production values and the cinematography.
It's a feel-good movie. Its heart is in the right place,
right?
And the message is warm and welcoming. And that's all we can say. That's the best we can say.
And I can say, Ellen, the fact that you spent 3 days with Shannon Elizabeth, and a lot of 15-year-old boys who would love to have been in that position.
The only problem, Ellen, by the way, and I haven't let this ruin my friendship with George, he could have written the part for an aging Lothario that I could very easily have stepped into. He didn't. But I'm not giving up hope. There's still perhaps a film in the future. I'm ready for my close-up when and if it ever happens.
Yeah, you and me both. You'll get yours first, I'm sure. So it's okay. Well, you got a pretty face. I'm sure someone will scoop you up.
Stop it some more, Ellen. Stop it some more, please.
What I was just thinking when you just said about people love Swing Away, also because of the atmosphere, I really feel like we've got this festival coming up. I feel like it's our time as Greeks. Lots of celebrities over the last few years have, I'd say, good five, even like pre-COVID, and have gone to Greece. And now, obviously, with social media, I mean, Demi Moore can't stop posting pictures of herself in Greece, and Lindsay Lohan, I think, got married in Mykonos, and there's just like it goes on and on. I mean, I sit there and I scroll through Instagram, and I'm like, I'm glad all these Xeni are in Greece, and I'm not. But anyway. So I really feel like there's that, and absolutely, and George, I'm sure you can attest to this. I mean, I've been in comedy like 20 years, over 20 years. And I remember sort of like trying to find other Greek artists, not just comics, there weren't that many of them either, but just trying to, like, hey, I'm Greek and I'm an entertainer, and just other than the regular singers, okay, which have been around a long time, but now there are a lot of young Greek filmmakers, and you know how we are, right? Like, we look at things and then we see a Greek last name and we're like, oh, who's that? Reminds me when my father used to read the newspaper, and if somebody got arrested and they were Greek, he would show it to me. And I'm like, Dad, I don't think that's really something we need to be proud of. But anyway, so I and Greek food, I mean, I remember growing up, there weren't really that many Greek restaurants, and not that we went to them, because my mother and Yaya cooked a whole lot better than anybody would at a Greek restaurant. But now it's just, it's all out there. I feel like it's our time. We put ourselves on the map. Obviously, the Big Fat Greek Wedding, now it's part 3, that's helped us. But you were talking about the LA Film Festival. I mean, I see it on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, that's huge. There's a huge Greek population in Canada as well. I mean, people don't realize Australia, obviously, as we know, I think has the second largest population. So I really feel like it's our time, and people are noticing Greece. I don't know what the numbers are, but I got to imagine this last summer, 2023, that the tourism must have been booming. So
just reading in the Times today.
Yeah, commentary.
The tourism industry has brought in $10 billion to the Greek economy this year. It's astonishing, absolutely astonishing. I was in Greece. It was full of tourists. You couldn't walk the streets on certain nights because there were so many people. It was difficult to get around, even in the awful heat that was burning Athens. It was still just mobbed with tourists. It's something very special people find in Greece that they look for and can't find elsewhere. The lifestyle is wonderful.
Anybody that
people know how to enjoy themselves.
especially, but I like to talk to non-Greeks to see what they, to what they think. And they all are like, I was just at peace, the water, the food,
Yeah.
just to
Well,
go
that's true.
out and sit and people watch. And it's really nice to hear. But to tie it into the festival, I think this is a great time to leverage off of this
Well, it's also,
new popularity.
It's a very good time for Greek film as well. In the 17 years that I've been working Greek film festivals, there's been a tremendous change, a growth in the quality of films. The Greeks today are making world-class cinema. They're European films, very few computers, no car chases, no superheroes, but they are films about interesting people facing real-life conflicts. And I think that's what's missing, certainly, in today's American film market. Those kinds of films seem to have disappeared. They're very, very good films. And festivals around the world very often major festivals include Greek films among their selections because there's an awareness, there's a new awareness of the talent in Greece. Plus, there were some tax incentives that the Greek government put in place a few years back, and this has spurred foreign production of films in Greece. And that too has brought in a very substantial amounts of money. It's employed countless people who work on the technical side of filmmaking, and they're world-class technicians. So exciting things are happening. As far as Greek films are concerned, it's pretty much an independent industry. There are no studios to speak of. But what is happening in the last few years, and I think this is a very healthy sign, there are major production companies being established, producers who are turning out quality films. And I think that's ultimately going to be very, very good for Greek cinema. Greek directors tend to make the kinds of films they want to make. They very rarely, I have the impression that they rarely think of the marketability of a film. Doesn't matter to them. They want to make the film they want to make. So I think with this influx of producers now, there's some reins being put into place, and that'll be good because we'll see more mainstream films coming out of Greece, and that's really what's missing from Greek cinema today. It's just a matter of time before that's corrected.
What I wanted to add to that, if I can just jump in for a second. So the tax incentives, didn't exist when I shot there in 2015. It makes a big difference if you're getting 40% of your budget back, even if it's after you finish the film. That's still, a massive savings, and can help you get to recoupment, in a way that might not otherwise exist, especially for some of these smaller films. But before the tax incentives, you had movies like Nia Vardalos' film, not Greek Wedding, but Life in Ruins. Other than the shooting at the Acropolis, the rest of the film, I think, was shot in Malta or Spain. And then you have other movies that like is it Born Identity or the Jason Bourne films? Like, they need to shoot downtown Athens, but they can't afford to take the production to Greece. So they recreate that in some other city. I forget where that ultimately was shot, but this was the pattern. Even Mamma Mia 2, I think, was shot in Croatia. So what's happening now is that you've got people shooting in Greece for Greece, but you now also have them shooting in Greece to double as some other city. So Antonis Banderas shot in Thessaloniki. I don't recall the name of the film, and it's not out yet, but the location is Miami. So they're shooting in Greece to get the benefit of the savings, and Thessaloniki is doubling for Miami. So it's created what I call a high-class problem, because before these were missed opportunities and these productions were going elsewhere. Now the money's being spent in Greece, and the challenge that independent filmmakers, in Greece, is that there's not enough crew to service all the production work. And so when these big productions come with big budgets, the people that are available are sort of, hired for those film shoots. And so that just delays when they can go into production. So 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when Greece builds up that industry. It's going to create a lot of jobs for people who want to, be grips and electricians and, and do craft services and all the rest of what you need for these productions. So that's one of the other advantages and reasons for why Greece adopted passed these laws is to encourage, foreign productions, and not just because it brings money to Greece, because people are there and they're getting their paycheck and they're spending in, it locally, but it is a way to really grow the sort of the workforce in Greece.
Well, being a former accountant, I'm all for tax incentives. So they always work. They rarely ever fail. And as a matter of fact, that's honestly what had happened to New York City. I mean, when I started acting, there really wasn't that much produced here. Everything was in LA, started to move up to Canada. And, I always tell people it's show business, and everybody does look at the bottom line. And once they had passed the tax incentives, I can't remember which governor that it was. And then all of a sudden, we started to get more filming here. And then, of course, Netflix, Amazon, and all that, made it even better. But as a matter of fact, they just renewed the tax extensions last year for like another 5 years. I mean, it's always a good thing. So I'm thrilled. I didn't realize that. I'm thrilled to find out that Greece got on that bandwagon and did that. Yeah. The thing is, you guys, said it brilliantly, is they have the sets. Greece is a built-in set. So, why not?
And the other thing about Greece is they have the locations, right? So it's not all, beaches and water and blue sky, right? They have mountains, they have lakes, they have forests, they have all the seasons. So it really is diverse. It's a small country, but it has everything.
Right.
And they're gonna capitalize on that. They know that, and that's how they're selling it.
Great. I mean, that's fantastic. And I'm really happy to hear that. I want to get to the festival. So sort of walk us through, tell us about the retrospective that you're involved in and Renos and some of his movies. I did go to the website, and you've got all the trailers for all the movies. So I encourage everybody to go see them. I already know I'm going to go see, it's not one of Renos's, it's another one called Dodo. I was laughing in the that I saw the trailer. I thought it was hilarious. So tell us what all that's about. And
the retrospective's the last weekend, so maybe I'll let Jimmy, talk about the opening night. And we'll work our way through the 2 weeks.
We start on the 5th of October, Thursday night in Manhattan, Thursday through Sunday at the Village East Cinema, and we're going to be presenting 7 films, new films. They're all New York premieres. They've never been seen before. You mentioned Dodo. It is one of the highlights of the festival, clearly. It's by a very, very talented director in Greece. His name is Panos Koutras. And this is another very, very fine film in a long string of successful films that he's made. And the plot involves a financially troubled, formerly wealthy family. They're preparing the advantageous marriage of their daughter to an heir. And the night before the wedding, the last minute preparations, a dodo appears on the estate. A dodo, of course, has been extinct for the last 300 years. And here comes this bird, and chaos ensues. Nobody really knows how to deal with this. And in the process, of course, it is largely a comedy, but there's also a very, very serious side to the film, in that family secrets are involved, illusions are dispelled, philosophical points about the human condition are made. So it's a very rich viewing experience, and an absolutely lovely film. Premiered in Cannes in 2 years ago, actually, and has been on the festival market ever since. And quite successful in many, many European countries. Has not been released in the United States as yet. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, we don't know. Our opening night film is a film called Black Stone, The director is Spiros Yakovidis. It's a wonderful, wonderful film, something entirely original and fresh for Greek cinema. Basically, the storyline is a mother, an overprotective mother, who is trying to find her missing son. Her adult son, one of her adult sons, has disappeared, and she's trying to find him. He's a civil servant. He's accused by authorities of being guilty of fraud, and that makes her feel even more determined to find him, even though it means that she may find out things about her son that she will be very happy to learn. It's a brilliant performance by Ellen Karis, who's a very well-known actress in Greece. She's been in a very successful television series called Min Archisis Ti Murmura, and she'll be at the screening. We're showing it twice. We expect a big turnout for that film. It's shown opening night and on Sunday at 1:30 on the 8th of October. Other films, a wonderful film called Listen. Greek title is Akusheme. Maria Douza is the director. That one is being presented, co-presented by New York Women in Film and Television. It's a story about a young girl, a teenager, deaf, financial situation forced her to leave this very progressive school in Athens and return to the small island where her father lives. And when she's there, she's confronted with prejudice and bullying because of her condition. It's a very interesting film and very, very topical. The story has issues that are relevant to Americans and people all over the world, actually. There's a very unusual film called Broadway by Christos Massalas. This is about a part of Greek society that normally doesn't make it into the Greek movies. It's a squatter family that makes a living pretty much by picking pockets on the streets. And they live in an abandoned entertainment complex in Athens called Broadway. And the film depicts their lifestyle and sort of the underside of Greek society. The Times reviewed the film a number of months ago, and it was quite a positive review. They liked the acting very, very much, and they thought the film had something very original to say. It's quite something. There's a film called Dignity, Greek title Me Axioprepia. The director there is Dimitris Katsimiris. All I can say is fasten your seatbelts when you come to see this movie. It's a very theatrical film, and basically, it's a family gathers to celebrate the birthday of its patriarch. And somewhere along the line, the fraught issue of who's going to take care of dad now that he's aging and needs constant care, and all hell breaks loose. That's all I can
very
say.
topical.
It's just,
Very topical as well.
It's an ensemble piece, ensemble acting. It is just riveting, absolutely riveting, and worth seeing. There's a film called Where We Live, Εκεί που ζούμε. This is by a very well-known director and acclaimed social satirist by the name of Sotiris Goritsas. And it's a lovely film. It's such a rich viewing experience, takes its time, has beautiful moments. And basically, it's a struggling lawyer who's trying to, on his birthday, by the way, tries to fulfill his obligations as a friend, as an ex-husband, as a professional, as a lover, as a son. And it's quite a day in his life that changes him forever and ever. There's also a film from Cyprus. I say this all the time, and I don't tire of saying it. Very, very interesting things are happening movie-wise in Cyprus. It's a very small audience. Very rarely does a Cypriot film even manage to recoup its production costs because the audience is so small. And yet there are compelling films coming out of that island. And we have one of them this year. It's called Iman, which involves three seemingly unrelated stories that are brought together in a very surprising way. Actually, they're brought together in the midst of a terrorist attack in a Cypriot city. So all in all, we have a good lineup, very strong lineup of films. We have wonderful short films as well. The directors of most of the films, except I think for Broadway, we couldn't get the director to come, but there will be people there at the Manhattan screenings only to meet the audience and do a Q&A afterwards. And there's even a special guest star on Where We Live on Sunday, the 8th at 4 p.m. Nikos Portokaloglu, who is a very well-known musician in Greece. He has written the score for the film Where We Live, and he's going to be at the theater as well with his friend, the director, Sotiris Goritsas. So I think we're in for a very exciting festival. In New Jersey, first time we're going there, at Fort Lee, in a beautiful screening venue called the Barrymore Film Center, which is a combination of motion picture museum and screening venue. And we're going to show both Dodo and Blackstone. So we're looking forward to it. I think we're in for a good festival. And then, of course, George will tell you all about the fascinating sidebar work that's going on, the offerings, and of course the Charalambidis retrospective. He's a ubiquitous presence in Greek cinema. He's made countless television series. He's been in, I think, 10 or 11 films by other directors he starred in. And he has 4 of his own films that he's written and acted in and produced and directed. And he's even, I think, written the music for some of them. So he's a true Renaissance man, does it all. And George will take over because he has a lot to say about this man.
I wanted, first of all, Jimmy, you're riveting. You're a wealth of information. I can't believe.
Where have you been all my life, Ellen?
Right.
I don't understand.
Right here, about 10 blocks from where you live. Because
you guys are both at the cathedral. You just have crossed paths and never knew it.
We live 10 blocks from each other. Do you go to the cathedral? Do you?
Occasionally, yes.
Okay. All right, we don't.
He's there all the time. Don't let him fool you.
A few things. One, I am half Cypriot, and
I didn't know that, and here I am flattering your country.
I'm telling you, and here I am. I don't think I've heard about a film from Cyprus, honestly. So that's definitely on the list. And my aunt, who is a huge film buff, and actually her and my uncle are very into foreign films, and I can't wait to send her all of this information. And it's funny because she lives in Jersey, so I just want to tell you that bringing it to Fort Lee, there's again people, this isn't just for Greeks, but I'm just saying there's so many Greeks on that side of the bridge that if they don't want to travel into Manhattan or whatever, or giving them that offering, who I don't know who came up with that idea, but that is brilliant, and I can't wait.
Well, we're always looking for new audiences. It's part of our responsibility. And the fact is, over the years, many people have said, why don't you come to Jersey? Why don't you come to Jersey? So finally, this year, we're taking that first step. And hopefully, if it's the right decision and it works, we can expand the offerings next year and continue to bring Greek films to those people there as well.
I mean, last year we went to Westchester and I think Bay Ridge as well. We've been to Manhasset in the past. And so to be able to now go to Fort Lee, I think is a nice development, but it's difficult for us as an organization to do this. You know, we have the week run in Manhattan, we have the week run in Astoria at MoMI. And so we want people to come to where we're showing the films, but we understand that it's not always easy for people outside the city to come to these.
Ellen, my philosophy is we got films, we travel.
Well, what I was going to say about the Barrymore, so where my grandmother lived in the back from where it was in the sort of her backyard, but up the block, there was an old film studio. So I think it was in the 20s, and they used to make films there.
Well,
on Main Street. I saw the address. Yeah.
Fort Lee was a center for silent filmmaking. One of the very first centers for the what eventually grew into the Hollywood industry. So that's the justification for this museum and the film venue in Fort Lee. There's history there, cinema history, and they have. It's such a beautiful venue. Just
I might
wonderful.
have to go and do that. What I was going to suggest, I'm sorry, go ahead. What were we going to say?
No, it's just a very well done, and
Good.
it's a nice place to see movies.
What I was also going to suggest is you at some point, maybe next year, Proto Theos, you should bring it down to Florida, to the East Coast of Florida, because
Well, there is
ton of Greeks down there.
this year, the first time, the South Florida Film Festival. They have screenings in Fort Lauderdale and in Miami. So it's going to happen. We have a little bit of hand. We felt a little bit with curating films there. Very good people involved, and I think it's going to succeed. It's going to be a good festival there too.
That's great.
It's happening the end of October, the middle of October, and then Atlanta is also in October to the end of the month.
So you have such a nice selection. I am so excited for you, George. Tell us what's happening toward the end of it, and also just can you touch upon these classes that are going on? Because I think that there's a lot of young artists that would love to sit on something like that.
So the retrospective, the 4 films that you mentioned all will run at MoMI. Friday at 7 p.m. is 4 Black Suits, which is his most recent film, which he made in 2010. Because of the crisis and COVID and other reasons, he hasn't been able to make another film, although he's finishing up a film called the Midnight Announcer or the Night Announcer. And I'm sure at the master class at the Players on Friday morning, I'm sure he'll talk about it. But it really took another 10, 12 years before he could, get back into production on another movie, which sort of explains how difficult it is for someone in his position, not just as another Greek filmmaker, but somebody who writes, directs, and stars in his own movies. There's very few people, I think, in Greece doing that. I think he was one of the first, to be honest with you. I'm sure I know there are others, but he's in his mid-50s, maybe. I think his birthday, by the way, is October 14th. So please come out on Saturday to Venos and celebrate his birthday. But he made his first film at 26, which is No Budget Story. So we're showing that Saturday, the 14th at 1 p.m. And then after No Budget Story, we're showing The Heart of the Beast. That's at 3 o'clock. And then Sunday, the closing night is the 15th at 4:30. We're showing Cheap Smokes. And before the screening, there's gonna be a musical performance with Christos Raphaelidis and Renos, because this film, even though it was made in 2000, it was a second movie. It was staged as a musical by the National Greek Opera in the past 2 years to sold out audiences. So while when it released in 2000, it was kind of, a non-event, but all these years later, people have rediscovered this film so much that the Greek National Opera wanted to stage it as a opera musical. Renos performed in that. Christos Raphaelidis, who was Greek but lives in New York, was hired by the National Opera to do the music. So that's where they met. And it just so happens, they're Christos here, and so we can kind of recreate part of that performance live for people on closing night. After each of the screenings, there's going to be one-on-one interviews with film historians, and on opening night, it'll be David Schwartz, who's the former curator at MoMI. And after No Budget Story, it'll be Andrew Horton, who's literally written the book on Renos, which is now out in English. So that book will be available for sale at the master class and maybe at these screenings. We're not trying to figure that out. But the Andrew Horton will interview him after No Budget Story. After Heart of the Beast, it'll be Foster Hirsch, who's a professor of film at Brooklyn College, and he's done a lot of work with us in the past. He's interviewed Kostas Gavras, he's interviewed Olympi Dukakis, and he's again made himself available to be with us on Saturday to have that conversation with Renos. And on closing night, it'll again be Andrew Horton. Before opening night film, Andrew Horton's going to give maybe a 15-20 minute presentation talking about Renos's work in the context of Greek film over the past 50 years. So I think that will be interesting for people to, hear what he has to say, and then just maybe explain better for what it is that they're going to see for those who are going to try to see, one or more of his movies. Leading up to the retrospective, we're going to have a kickoff party, launch party in Brooklyn, in downtown Brooklyn, at a venue called the Hana House. It's right at Willoughby Plaza. It's across from the street from Borough Hall. So that's the first stop, from into Brooklyn, coming from Manhattan, right over the Brooklyn Bridge. So that is what we're calling Life is Art Party. The party starts at 6:30. It's a red carpet event. We will have a directors conversation between 7 and 8 approximately, and then afterwards will be the after party. There'll be a live DJ, and a couple of Greek singers are going to make some surprise appearances. So we hope people will go online and purchase tickets for that party. On Wednesday, we're having the panel discussion that Jimmy spoke about, the state of Greek film at the consulate's office on the Upper East Side. I think that's also starts at 6:30. We're also, even though we haven't mentioned this, I should say it here, we're going to put up a photo exhibition of some behind the scenes photographs and on-set photographs of Renos's film Four Black Suits, and that will stay up for the entire run of the festival. So the office is open to the public, and people can come, walk in and just take in those photographs, and it'll have little captions about the scene and what he has to say about the movie. And Four Black Suits is a very interesting film because it's, for him, his sort of personal ithaca, and he really talks about Cavafy a lot, and Cavafy's influenced a lot of his style of filmmaking. So I don't want to speak for him or try to even explain the movies, other than to direct people to the website, because we have Renos has director's notes under each of the 4 films. So in addition to seeing the trailers or reading the little blurb that we put up, you can, in his own words, hear what he has to say about his own movies. Each of these films are semi-autobiographical. He'll say Cheap Smokes is the most autobiographical of his films, but obviously he's playing different characters. Even in No Budget Story, his character is Ireneos, which is Renos in Greek, but it's, he's playing the character of Ireneos, but it's, as I said, it's his first film. He was 26 years old, and it was very much about his wanting to make a movie and trying to figure out how to do that in the mid-late 90s when he had no money. And so the Greek Film Center at that time, it was really just whatever monies you could get from the Greek Film Center, which is the state, funding Greek cinema. It was, very few dollars going to a lot of different people. So, he did what he could on a I can honestly limited budget, on a no budget, hence the name. So he's, but he shot it in black and white. He shot it on digital and then later transferred it to film. So that itself was fairly groundbreaking at the time. I'd like to think he's somebody who invented independent cinema in Greece. I know that's not necessarily, an accurate statement, because everything in Greece you could say is independent film, but he very much is shooting in the style of some of the early, independent filmmakers like John Sells or Cassavetes. And he talks about that, and he'll speak to that. And I just watched the movies again, and almost every movie, he actually makes a reference to American culture. He talks about De Niro. He talks about, oh my God, who's some of the other people he mentioned?
The music, I think, as well. Isn't the music some American music as well?
He replaced some of the music because he, as we mentioned, he's a composer and a musician. So he's replaced some of the score with his own music, even all these years later. But yes, there's nods to, American music, but I just can't remember now offhand all the other references. But literally in every movie, there'll be something about American culture, which is kind of interesting because, he doesn't really talk about it, but when you watch the films, you can see what it is that he's, where his influences lie.
I don't remember which one it was, but one of the trailers was very Stanley Kubrick, esque type of like feeling. There's just something, there's a little oddity about it.
Maybe Cheap Smokes at the end with the in the trolley car with the goldfish. Goldfish are also something you'll see in every one of his films. And I myself aren't exactly sure why he has goldfish in all of his films. There's a line, and I think it's from No Budget Story. He talks about how he can see he can see himself in the eyes of the goldfish. So, at the master class, which we're having Friday morning at the Players Club, which is in
Gramercy
Park near, in Manhattan. It's from 11 to 1. You have to RSVP for this event, as well as the panel discussion, by the way. All of the information is on the website. But, these are the kinds of things that I think he'll speak to in his master class, and directing himself in a movie. Other filmmakers do this as well. You'll often see them in kind of cameo roles, which whether it's Scorsese, whoever who does that, this is somebody who literally is directing himself as the lead actor in all his films. So again, Papakalyatis is someone doing that in Greece. He's a bit younger than Renos, but so in a sense, Renos is a protege of his. And of course I know there are others, but it is something that makes Renos unique, because this is his, as I say, his life's work is his art, and this is what he lives for. I mean, he'll say, my very first movie, it was that period in his life where it was cinema or death, right? So he's very passionate when he talks about his films, and he's, still to this day, he's a working theater actor. He's got this other film that's going to be coming out. He's in another movie that was directed by Mike Nichols, who directed Swing Away. So they've collaborated recently on a film that was shot in Sparta, and I know they're working on another film together. So Renos has become a great friend. He supports our work, and and in turn we're think that we're supporting him and his peers with the festival and the films that we bring over.
So I want everybody to go to the website, HellenicFilmUSA.org, or just put in Hellenic Film Festival. It'll pop up. Everything is on there. Buy tickets. The website, by the way, is great. The whole schedule, a synopsis, where everything is, what everything is, trailers. You don't have to be Greek. I don't know how many more times I can say that one.
It's an easy to use website. It's been very well. Very nice.
It is, and I want to ask each of you. So, in closing, what are you looking for people? What would you like for people to walk away with feeling after they've seen, whether it's Renos's film or any one of these films that are of from Greece, and obviously have a very Greek through line, and show a lot about who we are?
Well, I'm very much into film selection, and I worry all the time about choosing the right films. What I've learned over the years is you'll never get a film that everybody's going to like. But what I hope people will walk away from the theater feeling that, well, I didn't like the movie so much, but I understand why they chose it. There's value I'd like to think there's value in all of the films we show. And so long as people feel, well, if they enjoy the film, that's the greatest pleasure for us of all. But if not, at least they understand that, okay, it could have been better or it could have been different, but I know why they chose it. It was interesting because of this or because of that. So that's my ideal. That's what I like to think. That's what I hope people will walk away from the theater feeling. It's very important that the audiences turn out for these films. It's a very, very expensive proposition to bring a film festival to New York. The costs are unbelievable. We never make money, so we're not a business. We're in the business of controlling our losses. That's the best we can hope for. But I hope people will turn out. I believe they'll be entertained, and it is a vote of confidence for us. We work very, very hard to bring the best that Greece has to offer to our audience. And we like to think that people appreciate it, and the way they show that is by attending the screenings. People have been wonderful to us. They come out to the films. They make unsolicited contributions of any amount. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they care enough to say thank you in this way, in this particular way, and that's heartwarming for us.
Can I just add a couple things here, because I agree with all of what Jimmy just said. So yes, I think people will attend and they'll walk away not liking everything, but for the most part, they'll enjoy these films. They're Greek language films with English subtitles. So even for non-speaking, Greeks and non-Greeks, you're essentially watching a foreign film, and it's hard enough to just, go see any foreign film, let alone a Greek language film. But, we've been around a long time. We've had a lot of success. We always wish that, for the people who didn't come out, it's sort of a lost opportunity because they're missing out on what we have to offer. With the retrospective, this is a chance, I believe, to kind of try to appeal to not just non-Greeks, but a younger demographic. That's also why I'm throwing a party in downtown Brooklyn. And so I think we have to, as an organization, do more of these sidebar events. This year, we happen to have quite a bit. We have an opening night reception at the Village East. We have the after party. We have the panel discussion. We have the master class. After each screening, we have just the conversations alone, people aren't going to want to miss. And I've seen David Schwartz do this. I've read Renos's book, so I know a little bit about Andrew Horton, and Foster I've known for 30 years, and I've seen him interview, not just the people we've had him talk to at our events, but I saw him interview Kim Hunter during a screening of Streetcar Named Desire, and other classic films. So it's just he's so interesting, and he is going to have a lot to say about The Heart of the Beast. And so I think the fact that we're doing all of what we're doing, and it's no small feat, it is worth people time to come out and see Renos's films. His film spanned a 13-year period from 1997 to 2010. And so, you're seeing, 4 movies that actually, had a real influence in Greece in terms of modern
Greek cinema history is basically it. We see the beginnings of something new and fresh in Greek cinema that dates back to the 1990s. Again, just to restate, the association is the Hellenic Film Society USA. The festival is the New York City Greek Film Expo. And the website is HellenicFilmUSA.org.
I love what you both said. And just to sort of add to that, I find sometimes, certainly in my own life, I get very stuck in the same things. It's like I live in New York City, but sometimes we're so busy working and trying to make a living that we don't take advantage of everything. And I think this is a great opportunity, and not just because I'm Greek. I just think it's a great opportunity to see films that you wouldn't normally see, that are not on HBO, Netflix. We've all gotten way too lazy, myself included, of sitting in the comforts of our home. That's why my aunt, even through COVID, and she was of the demographic of, don't go out of the house, don't go any place. My aunt's like, I put my mask on and I went to the movie theater.
Good for her.
She's like, she'd be your best audience. So I think it's a great opportunity for people to go out to see something different. And what you said, Jimmy, about not everybody will like the film. Sometimes like a film, I might not, I want to say not like, but might not be my favorite film that I've ever seen. But I like also films that make you think.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that goes without saying, of course.
Nothing is more fun than like after you've gone to a movie and, usually you're with somebody or a group of people. And then for the next hour or two, you're talking about it. And it's great. It just makes you think. It's like
What you said
class, going to school.
Of course, to supplement what you just said, it's wonderful to have the director there as well, because you get his point of view or her point of view about why this is in the film and why is that in the film. And it's always, it adds an extra dimension to the experience when you see the creator of the work of art there to talk about the finished product. It's a good opportunity for movie lovers, and we're so happy that we are able to provide it for our friends in New York City and now in Fort Lee, New Jersey as well.
All right, everybody. So I want you to get out of the house.
It's time to come back to the movies. Time to come back.
It is. It's a good escape. And it spans over 10 days. There's something for everybody. They've covered a lot of geographical locations. I want to thank Jimmy Demetro.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Thank you
what's your Ellis Island, pre-Ellis Island name?
Hadzi Dimitriou.
That's what we're going to go with. And my friend, George Stephanopoulos, who I adore. I adore your wife, Elena, Stella. And let's just give a little plug for what we're doing. October 21st, I am going to Portland. I'm going to say Oregon right now, but I'm going to practice. I think it's Oregon. I think I'm supposed to do something with the O. But anyway, Oregon, never been to that part of the country. And I'm going to be bringing my stand-up comedy show to the church there, specifically George's father, Father Elias Stephanopoulos. They have I created years ago a memorial fund, and we're doing a fundraiser, a night out. I've met Buddha's Videra, George's mother, via Zoom, so I can't wait to meet her in person. And
Be prepared. You're forewarned.
I'm so excited. So if anybody's from that part of the country, please come, Portland, Oregon. And I can't thank you enough. I can't wait. I am so looking forward to this.
6 degrees of separation. I went to parochial school with George's mother. So
in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
Right? It was GAI. They call it GAI.
Absolutely. Yes,
GAI,
yes.
Right. In the old location, though.
Yes, of course. Yeah, my dad was principal of the school there, and my mom taught Greek.
Your father was the principal?
Yes. At the school, 25 years.
Yeah.
We're all related somehow, some way.
Absolutely. 6 degrees of separation in the Greek community becomes 3 degrees of separation.
Well,
it's going to be a blowout event, Ellen. I can't wait. I'm glad me and Elena are coming out for that.
I know. I'm so excited because you originally weren't sure, but now you're coming and
I've got the whole weekend itinerary for you, so we're going to be good.
Well, enjoy it. Have fun.
Everybody,
thank you very much for the invite. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and your audience, and I hope we get to meet them at the movies.
Absolutely, everybody, please check it out. Hellenic Film Society Festival, October 5th through the 15th. Do not miss it. Gentlemen, please stay on. Thank you so much. I'm Ellen Karis. You can go to my website, ellenkaris.com. See where I'm going to be going, appearing. And again, if you are in Oregon, October 21st, come to the show. It's going to be a hoot. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.